You know what? I want an interesting topic today. Something a bit different from the usual. Anyone got anything like that for me? What about you, young man? Yes, you up there. You look smart with great ideas, if we ignore all the crap on the wall that's going on behind you.
Squids and octopuses have a different genetic build than any other creature in the world.
Okay, you got me intrigued. I mean, it's kind of wrong already, because like there are numerous creatures that are part of the same grouping of animals, like cuttlefish. But sure, let's just say they, as an entire grouping, are completely unique. Cool. Now, what does that mean exactly? I cannot wait to find out.
So scientists have come to the conclusion that they couldn't have come from any other sea creature.
Have they? Have they really? Okay, great. You want to tell me where they've said that? Was it in one of the journals like Nature or Science, perhaps? Or was it in one of the more prestigious ones, like Big Hunky Science Guys Weekly or Ripped Researchers Fortnightly? That's my personal favourite. It's got some great lifestyle articles, but I'm sure you already knew that.
So here's what evolutionary theory states about how they got here.
Edge of my seat, mate. Here's hoping it isn't something completely ridiculous, although it's going to at least be something just plain wrong, and you might have known that if you did actually read the articles in Bunsen burners, beakers and beefcakes, instead of doing what we all know you were really doing with those magazines. And you should be ashamed of yourself. Those adverts for multi-level marketing schemes are a scam. You're just wasting your money, mate.
Evolution says, or evolutionists claim, it says one plausible explanation.
Oh, this will be good. And it'll definitely be evolutionists, aka people who study and understand the mechanism that is responsible for the diversity of life on our planet in general, who definitely all hold this opinion, I'm sure.
And our view is that the genes are likely new extraterrestrial imports to Earth.
Well, yeah, of course, I also read that on Shit All Scientists Definitely Say and Agree With. No, I'm not making this up because I have a giant bias against evolution and an absolutely laughable lack of scientific background and or thinking.com. Wordy name for a website, I know, but it is in fact the pinnacle of cherry-picking controversial studies and pretending that that's the mainstream opinion of the scientific community.
These scientists declare that, quote, the squid eggs hitched a ride to Earth on the back of asteroids.
That one guy in the background perfectly sums up everyone's reaction to hearing that. And smarter people than I, who are actual scientisizers, etc., or evolutionists as you might call them, called that theory counterproductive, beyond speculative, and said that it cannot be taken seriously. And I think I can translate that into something you can more readily understand. That hypothesis is probably bullshit. Interesting thought experiment bullshit, but bullshit nonetheless, with absolutely no evidence to back it up.
That is what evolution teaches, folks.
Oh yeah, that's one of them not true boys. It's really one of those falsy fellas. It has the sounds of one of these big old horse heaps. And I'm not saying that you're lying or anything like that. I try to avoid that kind of judgment, as it is far more likely you are just completely incompetent at doing the braining.
I am not kidding.
Or smart, or handsome, or famous, or good at the sex. In fact, we could mention all the positive attributes that a human being could possibly have that you do not share, but I really have a number of much better things to do that would take until the heat death of the universe. Most of them involve drinking.
I was in an interview with a friend of mine he's an actual creation scientist.
Well, I find that hard to believe. Creation scientist? That sounds very unlikely. More like creation guy who read a book of scientific terms but didn't bother to learn what any of them mean. Creation person who flunked out of Biology 101. Perhaps creation hasn't given up his day job, otherwise he would be as destitute as his own intellect. Those are all far more likely than creation scientist. That's about as likely as you having any friends.
Now, him and I don't see eye to eye on everything.
Well, yeah, you think he exists, and he's a blank space in the corner of a room. You don't see eye to eye because he literally doesn't have eyes. I'm saying he imaginary, mate. But again, only because you called him a friend, and also because one might, oh, I don't know, mention his name, which you don't, for some strange reason.
But he brought this up and I thought he was joking with me.
You could call it that. I would call it taking the piss. Maybe the guy does exist and is trying to see what stupid things he can get you to say on your little platform up there. God, I hope that's the actual truth, because that would be absolutely hilarious. I need to get some woo peddler friends and just start making stuff up. Hey guys, you heard of reskinning? You peel all your skin off and then you put it back on. Really lets the fresh air in. Actually, thinking about it, I would just be starting another thing I would have to end up debunking. But at least it would be simple to do, as I would have literally been the one to make it up. CC money, baby!
I said, are you serious? We cut for a moment. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. This is what they teach?
And assuming he exists in the way that you present, one would hope he then said, well, no, they don't teach that per se. It was like one thing published in one place that most of the scientific community refute the claims of. But it's fun to think about. And if you feel the need to tell anyone about this specific interaction we're having right now, do me a favour and leave my name out. I know you have a habit of just repeating things other people say without putting any critical thought or research into its validity. There's a good boy.
He said, yeah, it's what they teach. I looked it up. Sure enough, evolution teaches that they hitched a ride on the back of asteroids.
Oh, so you're like one of them liars. Sorry for not accusing you of that earlier. I really shouldn't jump to snap judgments about people being stupid when they could just be completely dishonest. Where exactly did you read that they teach that? Was it nowhere? Or I suppose it could have been from forums with other people who have no idea what is taught, all telling each other what they want to hear. But even that is still very silly and hard to believe. Because an honest person might, oh, I don't know, pick up a textbook on evolution and see that in no place is that idea even mentioned. Because as I said, there's no evidence for it. It's in one article, and that's not how science works. You fart masquerading as a person.
Doesn't that sound fun?
Hey, if that's what you're into, personally, I prefer to know what the truth is, and I generally try my best not to lie to large groups of people. I mean, I guess I could give it a go. Oh, hi, everyone. When did you lot get here? I didn't just take a crap in this lectern.
And they don't get along anyways. Squids and octopuses are constantly fighting each other, so I don't know how they made it here to begin with.
You know, I make jokes about surrealist and silly ideas that I've made up, but that's usually at my own expense, and I don't tend to claim that that's what people are saying, unless they literally say it. So when you make a joke about some silly idea that you think the larger scientific community believes, as much as your idiot followers will laugh, it's not actually funny because it's based on nothing and just makes you sound way, way dumber than them, because they at least have the excuse of not knowing what you are saying is total garbage.
But of course they were eggs, and the article goes on to say that they were, they were fertilized. They don't know how.
You said that this is what they teach, and then you go on to say it's an article. Come on, man. You must understand that every article printed in any kind of science-related magazine isn't what they teach necessarily. Do you think that's how science education works? That anyone can make up any crap, have it printed somewhere, and suddenly that's what they're teaching the kids nowadays? I could see why you would think that the science was incorrect if that's how you believe it works. But no, they teach the things they can prove in science classes. Apart from the more advanced theoretical stuff, but that's clearly labelled as theoretical. Like theoretical physics, once something in that field is proven, it just becomes physics. And not a moment before.
But they were fertilized so that they could hatch when they hit the water.
Sure, why not? Like I said, that's not what they teach. But the article did say that basically, so it's whatever. You're basing your ideas off a faulty premise, so I can't exactly blame you when at least you're somewhat accurately representing said faulty premise. You're still wrong though. You got anything else you want to be wrong about?
Evolutionists also claim that monkeys, because monkeys had to have somehow gotten to South America,
Oh, good. Monkeys and anti-evolutionary types, always a combination for the best ideas to come out from your faces. The classic being, if I come from monkeys, why they're still monkeys. Please don't do that one. It's really dumb. I'm saving it for my 1,000,000 subscriber video that will never ever happen because YouTube hates me. Probably for being too attractive.
From Africa. That's what evolutionary theory states, and they have a problem figuring out how. So their best conclusion that their best scientists have come up with is this idea that monkeys surfed across the ocean.
Right, that's not like their absolute best. It's one of the ideas that they, pardon the pun, float. There are other ways that are plausible. B, the idea is in no way, shape or form that they surfed like a totally bodacious dude. They would have floated on pieces of moss or debris and logs and other kinds of crap. Also, it's not like it's without precedent. There are multiple species of all sorts of land-dwelling creatures that have managed to cross large bodies of water in a similar fashion. And finally, the gap between South America and Africa increases every year. So you know what that means? They used to be substantially closer together, making the journey significantly less unlikely. And yet, it is unlikely, but not impossible. Here's the thing. I got to assume, if you are a creationist, that you also believe the Noah's Ark story to be true. Then if the way they are saying it might have happened via evolutionary standpoint didn't happen, how exactly did it in your mind? As far as I'm aware, Noah didn't drop off individuals all over the planet. He just kind of crashed into some land. So how did anything get back anywhere? And whatever thing you come up with, then why couldn't that be the explanation? It would likely still support evolution. Not that you have any ideas, I'm sure. Ideas are for people who actually do the brainerizing.
Across the ocean to a land anew over in South America.
So I think I understand why you put those two ideas together. Because to you at least, they both seem equally unlikely. Unfortunately for you, they aren't. Not even close. Forgetting the precedent of other creatures doing it, a piece of debris floating thousands of kilometers carrying a small group of creatures is infinitely more likely than some random planet somewhere in space that has evolved a bunch of, well, space squids, somehow expelling a hunk of rock containing the eggs of these creatures without them getting destroyed in that process, travelling countless light years to finally hit our tiny blue speck that also just happens to have an environment similar enough to the one that they started in to not immediately die, after surviving a completely uncontrolled entry and having enough of the space rock or ice or whatever remaining and not causing an explosion or just like smashing the eggs to pieces or whatever when it lands. And landing in the sea, which to be fair is probably the least of the worries at that point. But yeah, like I said, not even remotely similar odds.
Now that has a lot of problems. There's tides out there. You know, they probably get blown off their surf. Who has ever seen a monkey surf? I don't even think they can.
Can you just not take everything you read literally and as the ultimate source for all things? I guess that explains your Bible, love. Whoever called it surfing was being fanciful. They would have floated or drifted. They would have clung on for dear life with 1,000,000 to 1 chance of even landing anywhere before they died. But it could have happened, which at every single time is a better explanation than God did it.
But like, this is what happens, folks, when you go into fantasy land and when you think that the world created itself from nothing, magically, I might add.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were the one that thought it was made from nothing magically. The science says it was created from processes over huge spans of time, and at not one point does it use the word magic. But you might think that's what it is if you're too stupid to understand that science. And instead, just tell porcupines about what the science actually says. I guess you are both stupid and dishonest. Who would have seen that coming? Guys, don't forget to panic buy sick brand merch. What if you need to let people know that you are handsome, famous and good at the sex in a variety of tasteful colours? Buy as many as you can afford now before this thing that's printed to order runs out. Also, you can use it as toilet paper if needs be. You never know when you're going to need to wipe your arse.